Welcome to the Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Christine Koenig, hosting today with
Suzanne Germany with Keller. No, you're with Keller.
I'm with Keller.
I'm with Rand Realty.
Listen, you're welcome to come on over.
I'm good, thank you, Christine. That's real estate in a nutshell.
Cross country.
Oh my goodness,
That's some funny
me.
stuff right there. Anyway, so today to talk about housing market and veterans. But first thing, of course, we'd like to take a minute to thank all of our veterans for their service.
Yeah, I have some veterans in my dad was in the military. My nephew was in the military. My brother-in-law was in the military, and grandfather and great.
I know it is interesting when I think back, because my grandfather was in the Navy and my uncle was in the Army and my stepson is in the Marines.
Oh, that's awesome. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. So we always got a lot going on, with our appreciation and
a lot of realtors are ex-military too.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I do. I'm a big fan of the military. Obviously, we all are.
But I did want to take a minute to make sure I let everyone know how to get in touch with us today. We really, really love call-ins or text-ins. So if you want to call us, you can call us at 845. Oh, I've lost it.
Right here,
651. There we go, 1110. Holy cow. And then our text line is 845-328-0886. All right, so calling us again, 845-651-1110. After 6 years of doing this on Mondays, you'd think that maybe that number would be so cemented in my brain, there would be no hesitation, but apparently...
Well, it's like old Keller Williams that...
I find most people text, it seems like. Anyway, questions.
It does, but it's okay. I'm still going to encourage them to call.
Yeah, if they want it. Yeah, we're good.
Call in.
Yeah, it helps the show, that's for sure.
That's right. So how was your weekend?
Good. I worked on Sunday. Went to a party up in Saratoga, my grandson's 5th birthday party. But anytime you can go to Saratoga, it's a great time because It's so beautiful there. And I'm always so amazed at how busy the sidewalks are. I mean, it's what every community dreams of. Thousands of people just walking, shopping, maybe we'll say hundreds, well, maybe 1,000. I mean, it was crowded.
Wow.
But it's just every weekend we're up there. It's just such a beautiful place to go visit. If anyone has not been to Saratoga.
I have not.
Oh, it's...
Which is surprising to me. I generally make an effort to explore, all of our local stuff. And I know it's not completely local, but it's local enough.
Oh, yeah. So, it's in the Adirondacks, just outside the Hudson Valley. But what's nice about it in the summertime is they do have all these races. So it's kind of like, park yourself on a bench and just kind of watch all the outfits and clothes. Yeah. Well, the people and the hats, and it's just really fun. And so it's kind of classic New York stuff going on.
I love that. How about you for this weekend?
I got back Saturday, worked pretty much on Sunday, and then here I am.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I actually feel like I had a very kind of fun weekend. I had a little bit of work mixed in with a couple things. I saw one of my friend's sons was in a performance of
that's fun.
Much Ado About Nothing, which is really, really, really fun. Show. And then I have another friend in Sugarloaf who did a live reading of another play, and it was also Shakespeare. And so we ended up really kind of having this very artsy weekend, which I love.
Yeah, sure.
It's funny because in real estate, a lot of times we're so busy on the weekends, and then sometimes when we're not, we're just so happy to be quiet, right? Yeah. And there's so many great things in our area that I have a list of the things I haven't done because I was working or too tired. So this weekend, I'm not going to have that list of what I didn't do this weekend.
Well, it's a great weekend to do stuff. Yeah. But that is that's the downfall of the job, but it's also, a part of the job. It is what it is. Yeah, when you have a free day, it's very exciting.
Nice, right?
Yeah.
It is very
it's
exciting.
Like Christmas.
I know. I have the list of work things I really need to be doing. I literally folded it up, hid it away with my computer, and I'm just not doing it.
Yeah. That's good.
You need some of those days.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things, kind of going back to Veterans Day, I think it's worth taking a few minutes to talk about one of the nicest benefits that we have for veterans. and active service military as well, which is the VA loan.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Mike, you want to
Yeah, they are great.
touch base on that? I mean, do you do them?
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah.
do a ton of them,
Yeah, that's what I
actually.
thought,
If people are eligible, it really is a great product. And it's just finding out if they're eligible, what they're eligible for, and then getting the sellers and the market to understand what a VA loan is. Because that's the other part of the puzzle that seems to be difficult to explain.
Right.
you know?
Now, with the VA loan, is there an arm reach kind of like if you're father or something like that, or is it only you as a military person?
Only you as an individual. There's certain things that can take place for a spouse if for some reason you pass
Right.
away.
Okay.
Like
Right.
there's assumability, like where you can assume the mortgage, things like that. But overall, there's no. It's not like USAA insurance.
Right,
Like,
right, that's what
like
I was
my
getting at.
grandfather was in
Right.
the military. I could technically have
It's
USAA.
a benefit of a military personnel.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it also you get a certificate. Like different branches are going to be different certificates. If you're in the reserve, if you're full time, those are all different things that are looked at.
Right. That's what it says here is like if you're active service military and you've been and you have been so for 90 continuous days, right? That's when you can meet the active duty requirement. For veterans, it depends on when you serve. So different, I guess, as things have changed over the years, depending on when you served, like the Gulf War period or the Vietnam
Different
War
benefits
period.
with the VA loan?
Yeah,
or VA
it's not
benefits?
different benefits. It's about whether or not you qualify to get the certification, right?
Really?
Your first step is to get your certification letter. And so most of them are about the same, but sometimes you have to have at least 26 months of continuous service. Other times it is 181 days, right? There's of service or less if you were discharged honorably, but like some of
Right,
those things
right, that I
change
figured,
depending on your
yeah.
time frame. So just make, that's what someone like Mike is going to at least help you figure out.
Yeah, we
and
request the certificate of eligibility, which is exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and then that's going to have everything on it that we need to figure out how to structure the loan. Because some veterans there is a funding fee associated with VA, but some are exempt from that funding fee. So it's all things we want to know up front when we're talking through estimates.
Right, and National Guard members, reserve members, they all again qualify under different things.
Right. The tough thing I always think about the VA loan is that, there's the mindset that it's 100% financing, which is great and all, but they still need to have that down payment to be in a competitive offer situation.
So a lot of things, this is the conversation I have with my people, and then Mike, you can chime in.
Yeah.
They are entitled to their 100%. However, that does not always cover closing costs. And so what I try to have the conversation is, yes, we can put the offer in with, zero down, 100% financing, which ultimately is what's going to happen. However, sometimes someone on the other side they just feel more safe with an offer that has some sort of money sitting
It's
there.
kind of like skin in the game.
Correct. And so what I try to talk to them about is outside of the loan, which you want 100% loan, we're going to go for 100% loan. But there are always some other costs. So I try to talk to them about putting some of those closing costs in at this point in time, and then we'll pull them out at the end of the transaction to pay for things at the closing table. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I think that's perfect. That's kind of exactly how I explained it too, is that even though they're entitled to do zero down, you have to have something in the game, some
Right.
skin in the game.
Right.
And then we just credit it towards the closing costs. Like if they give $10,000 in earnest money and the closing costs don't equal $10,000, that money just comes back to them at
Right.
closing. But they can always do the 100% financing.
I had a transaction where it was a Goshen transaction. It was competitive. There were multiple offers, and my guy was 100% financing and no down payment and everything. And I'm thinking, we're never going to get this. I tried to prep him. I said, listen, it's a competitive. There's multiple offers. We're going in with no money, and I understand it, and I respect this benefit, and I strongly support it and everything. Fortunately for us, the seller was military.
Yep.
Right.
And he wanted to respect his compatriot, so to speak, and he picked my guy's offer because he was military. And that's gives me chills right now thinking about that, thinking that's such a beautiful thing, a way to honor each other, so.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the VA loan process, and then we have lots of other great programming scheduled. So, see you in a minute.
These things are weird. I'm not loving them. Like
What?
The new headphones.
New headsets.
Why? What happened?
They're too big for my head. Oh, first of all, they're too big for my head. Let me try to
I
make
think
them
it's that.
smaller.
It's like
And they're super chunky.
I think it's just the way.
Buyers can take advantage of low interest rates and sellers
Ah.
pay top dollar for their homes.
All right. So
Yeah, that was great.
other things we're going to talk about. We're going to make. Let's. We'll do the next section on this a little bit more.
On
and
which
then-
part of it?
So here we're going to talk about. We'll talk about what some of those real advantages are, and then I want to talk about what kinds of properties qualify. Like there, I did.
Yeah.
Because there's always that question of does
Sure.
the home qualify? So I did want to dig into that a little bit. Here are some myths about it, which I'd like to talk about those because that's one of the things people think about. Where is my list of? That's definitely not something I want to talk about. Hold on, it's in here. And there's so much in here.
Yeah, there's a ton.
I think we should have opened it up with. Can we all just agree that we're happy the election's over?
I was
I
gonna
just-
say I'm just happy to see that all the signs came down. I don't care which side you were on. It's like it was
Yeah,
nice.
no, there's
They
still some
literally-
out there.
Oh really? I haven't
Yeah.
seen any. I'm like, thank God.
There's a ton right on the corner.
Did you
as
come
turn
this
in
way?
What do you mean, like through? I came
Down
from the village.
Sanfordville?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah, no, there's still a lot. It always drives me crazy because it's like now it's pollution. Now you're littering.
Well, I thought they had rules in place that you had to pull them out.
I think they do.
This is John Douthat, president of Burr Catholic.
And this is Janice Clark, principal of Burr Catholic.
We're inviting you to join us every Friday at noon.
There was a lot of clutter for a long time, so I was just happy to see.
A lot of everything. It was too much.
Oh, okay. Can we do it?
Hi, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. My name is Suzanne Germany. I'm with Rand Realty, and I'm here with Christine. Christine?
Hey, it's Christine Koenig with Keller Williams, licensed in New York and New Jersey.
And Mike Van Mantzar with Cross Country.
I'm just going to laugh at you all day today.
And it's not like I haven't done the radio show. I did last Wednesday, the Wednesday before, the Monday
know it.
before, the Monday before. It's been a long
I'm in
night.
your head.
No. Actually, my daughter was in the ER all night.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry
I'm
to hear that.
exhausted. And yeah, what's upsetting is they didn't admit her. She was in there 2 nights in a row with a massive ear infection, but so bad, her whole face is swollen. She's in extreme pain. And they won't admit her because Garnett does not have an ENT specialist on staff. So they can't admit her, which is very concerning to me. So I don't want to get into healthcare today, but that's a problem.
Yeah.
We're it's a community medical center, So we've been up all night.
I'm sorry.
So that's why I'm like rambling here.
Well, we're just talking a little bit about the VA home loan for our veterans out there and active service military. So I just want to talk a little bit about the advantages, like why the VA loan. The first one that we all talk about is that you can finance up to 100%, and that's
Correct.
a big benefit.
Yeah,
You
it's
have
huge.
The no requirement for a down payment. That it's hard for our military to save that down payment. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. A lot of people don't realize that there's also VA renovation loans that are out there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I did
it's
not
a
know that.
great product because
Wow.
you know how VA has specific requirements for what the home needs to meet
yes,
as far
we're going
as
to talk
health
about
and
the
safety.
eligibility.
Yeah. Well, this allows you if it is one of those properties that may not be eligible based on the VA requirements. Well, you can finance the repairs into that.
I do love that.
Yeah,
Another advantage is no private mortgage insurance.
it's a huge one.
Yeah, because I mean that's a couple
could be
$100 a month.
No PMI.
No
No
PMI.
PMI.
I didn't know that.
There's also no debt to income limit. They go off of something called, why can't I remember it off the top of my head?
It'll come back to you.
Residual income.
I wish I'd
So
been in
there's
the
not
military.
there's not a set guideline that says you have to make X amount of money to afford this house. It's basically what they're comfortable with, and they have a little formula that the VA uses when you run it, and it says based on these what did I say it was again? The cash.
Yeah, debt to income ratio.
Yeah, that's
Not
income
no
ratio.
right. I thought it was
but,
not debt to income
Yeah,
ratio.
no, it's not based on debt, but
Right.
I already forgot it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay.
Residual income, I'm sorry.
Right,
So
I'm sorry.
it bases it off of residual income, and whatever factors they count when they run their scenarios is what gives us an approval I've seen debt to income ratios as high as like 70% for these type of products because of other compensating factors, whether it's money in the bank or how long they've been in the military, their current pay. So there's a lot of different things that are factored in where a traditional mortgage would just be a no. You know?
I mean, I'll be the first to say, I don't think they pay them enough to be in the military,
Right.
you know, and it makes it difficult for them to have that savings account that most people who are in business can do, you know, hopefully. So I think it's important that these benefits are out there. And Christine,
Yeah, a couple other things on here. There's no loan limit. If the veteran has full entitlement, they can meet the lenders and can meet the lender's financial guidelines. So unlike FHA, where you have a loan limit here of like what 480,000 or whatever it is,
Yes.
there is no loan limit. So you can use this for higher priced properties.
but if they don't have the income to satisfy the mortgage.
Right, they have to have that. They have
Right.
they have to be qualified for whatever it is, but they're not limited. Is the
Right,
point?
right.
Yeah, so like an FHA loan today, if you were trying to borrow 500,000, it would be a no. You know, because there's a cap that FHA sets on what they're willing to insure, and the VA doesn't have that cap.
Right, and the VA does not require a minimum credit score. However, the lender may.
Wow.
Correct, and there's ways to manually underwrite VA loans. So when we run our findings, what we call them, if the score is low, it'll give us a refer eligible or something along those lines, which is basically just saying, well, we don't like it, but if you want to manually underwrite it, we might be willing to accept it. So I don't see that very often that they do manual underwrites on them, but they are out there.
All right, competitively low interest rates compared to other programs.
That is true. VA, any government insured loan typically has a lower interest rate than a conventional
Yeah,
rate.
I saw today, like when I was pulling this, today's VA rate was like under 6%.
It's possible. Yeah. It depends on the market and what
yeah.
area you're in.
Of course, everything always.
It's
There's
state
so
by
many
state, yeah.
asterisks after that, but the compare equaling the asterisk on the regular rate, right? Like it was
it can be
comparatively
0.5%,
low.
1%
Yeah.
lower. Yeah, and especially doing zero down with no MI. I mean, that's a win.
Right. It says no funding fee for eligible service-connected disabled vets and surviving spouses. May be used to purchase an existing home, a residential condo, a new build, finance or your current home, or purchase a multi-unit residence as long as you're going to live in one of those
Correct.
units.
It does require, all the VA loans require you occupy it as a primary residence.
Right, I was
And
just going to mention that.
there are exceptions, like if you are stationed somewhere else, they do allow you to get temporary income from it, but the whole goal of VA is for a primary residence.
So meaning if they're stationed at West Point, which is local, but they're from, say, Alabama, they could technically buy a place in Alabama, rent it out since they're stationed here. Is that what you're saying?
There's limits to it, but
Right.
they do allow it. You have to essentially, I don't want to say ask permission, but you have to be forthcoming and disclose it, and it can't be for long periods of time. It has to be
Right,
temporary.
right.
One of the things that, when we're working with other agents who maybe don't understand the product so much, things that come up, sort of similar to an FHA loan is, well, will this home qualify for the loan? Right, because there are, and I know we spoke about
Yep.
using the renovation part, but some people might not know what that means. They're looking at the age of the roof. They're looking for signs of mold. They're looking for handrails and trip hazards.
Right, so
Yep.
the same as the FHA guidelines?
It's similar
It
to
is
the
similar. I had one VA loan, which I thought was unusual. The appraiser called out like dips in the road. It wasn't a paved driveway. It was like one of those shale
Really?
rock, and there were huge dips.
Divots.
Like where water would pool. And the appraiser considered it health and safety, and I mean it was an easy fix. They filled it in with some rocks.
Sure,
but it was still
but I never
unusual.
thought about that,
It's
yeah.
stuff that if you're like visibly walking around, then you can think I can be injured. That's kind of what they look at. You know,
No, it's
I
good.
can fall off this balcony because there's no railing or the railing's not this
It's
high.
wobbly
Yep,
or something,
Yeah.
That's it's good
All
stuff,
stuff
though.
that comes up on an inspection for the most part is kind of what they look at.
Yep. And one of the interesting things that I was reading about is if for some reason the VA loan, like the house under the VA loan doesn't appraise, there is a process that you can kind of go back and
Reconsideration of value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
so that's something that I think is a little different for this.
So yeah, like unlike a normal appraisal, we order all the appraisals through the VA portal versus where we would use an appraisal management company typically. There's also, with the VA loan, it does require a pest inspection, which a lot of people don't think about when they're doing an
Yeah.
inspection. So what a lot of buyers do, most inspectors to do a pest inspection is not going to take them like extra time. You know, it's kind of part of their process. But if you tell them that you need one and they're a veteran, I haven't seen many inspectors really charge for it. Don't hold me to this. I'm just saying what I've seen. So that if you tell them you're a veteran, you're doing
For
a
VA
loan,
loans,
yeah,
right.
they'll say, oh, we'll take care of it because it's going to be like $50.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a, but yeah, that is a requirement.
Yeah, and then the only other thing here is some common myths about the VA loan. I think this is the kind of information that when we are presenting an offer with the VA loan, it would be helpful if we presented even just this sheet, because I think that these are the things that other agents, when they don't understand it, and they're presenting multiple offers to someone, right? I think that the general person out there doesn't understand the power the listing agent has in terms of what offer gets accepted.
Sure, of course.
Right, that listing agent is almost going to stack rank those offers. Yes, every offer will be presented, but not all presentations are equal, is what I would say.
Right. No, I agree with that.
And so making sure that when I present an offer to someone, especially if it's using a loan that's not a conventional loan product, I am really going to talk about and lean into what makes my buyer awesome and what makes the loan that we're using not only good for my buyer, but good for the other,
Right.
for the seller,
For the
and
seller,
talk to them.
right.
So one of the things that, is one of these big myths is that that the VA loans take too long. And here it shows that the average VA home loan can close in 32 days. Now that's nationwide, and that doesn't take into account the New York process of home inspection, then contract, right? But that's compared to 46 days with an FHA and even 45 days.
There's something called an ERL, which is just an interest rate reduction loan, where it's no credit. It's basically just we go in, you reduce your mortgage. There's no appraisal. You can change the term. It has to be a net benefit, obviously, tangible benefit. So you can go from a 30-year to a 15, or maybe you take another 30-year, but you're just reducing the interest rate because rates have fallen. That takes no time at all. It's
Right. By the way, I did see a little asterisk warning for people who have a VA loan about refinancing, and being careful that you're working with a qualified lender, and not to take advantage of some of the, you won't have to pay a mortgage for 2 months, like things like there are some things in there that they just said, do your homework. Don't buy into a refinance scam is what
they may
said.
pitch that as a way to show a net tangible benefit, but that's nothing I've ever done.
Yeah,
in the
no,
sense
of course.
Yeah,
Oh,
I wouldn't.
gosh.
You really have to show, and I don't remember the recoup cost breakdown. You have to show VA that there is a true benefit. People may say, "Oh, skip a couple months." That to me is not. I mean, that's a benefit out of pocket initially, but long term, it's not going to be a benefit.
Yeah, but that's any mortgage.
Yeah,
If you close
exactly.
on the 1st, you don't know until the next month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, basically.
So
Yeah.
that's,
Yep. And so some of the other myths is appraisals take too long.
I've never had a problem with VA.
So there was a
good.
time. There was a VA appraisers around.
That I remember.
And
Yes,
so,
that I remember.
and I think that's where some of this was, because if
Yeah.
you're thinking like a decade ago, and some of us have worked
Yeah, no,
longer,
I
and
agree-
it's like
I agree with you.
it was a real problem for a little bit. We just didn't have
It
the
would
numbers
sometimes
of
take
people.
weeks and weeks and weeks
Yeah.
to get that VA appraisal.
Right, and so I guess that is no longer an issue.
Yeah.
And they state about the how long it generally takes is about you should have from the time you order it, it should be less than a week. And then last, it says, veteran home buyers are at a competitive disadvantage compared to other home buyers. And it says veterans are some of the strongest borrowers in the market. A typical veteran has an average credit score of 721, a gross income over $9,400 a month, and nearly $60,000 in assets. I mean, that's not a brand new.
No, that's a veteran.
Right. But, so I just wanted to kind of take that minute to.
I think this was a
talk through that.
great topic for today, definitely. And if you're a military person, you have, you're entitled to this benefit.
Yep.
Go for it. Mike's a great mortgage broker, and he's here with us. And Mike, you want to give your phone number out again?
It's 845-239-6565.
All right, we're going to take
Good
a quick
number.
break and listen to our sponsors. All right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we come back in, let's acknowledge the fire going on in Greenwood Lake.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. Where people can make donations. They're looking for water, Gatorade, stuff like that. And then
Do you have that where they're doing that?
Yeah, at the firehouse.
So the firehouses.
Yeah, I would just say yes. I think the firehouse on Lakes Road specifically is where they're taking that,
I know the Orange County market very
or Mountain Ave, something like that.
or seller, my priority is your satisfaction. For more information,
Jack, I would use my phone, but it's. Hi, Kim.
Oh, your friends are talking.
No, Kim Starks is watching.
Oh, okay.
So, so yeah, and then this here I just pulled like keys to protect your home from wildfire. And it's the stuff you would think about, which is clear vegetation around your house, and it kind of talks about what you want to do it, you know, within 5 feet of your home, within 30 feet and beyond.
Yeah.
Gutter and roof maintenance, exterior building materials, flammable storage, and community preparedness.
Shut off natural gas, propane.
Oh yeah, and if you're going to evacuate, oh I love that. So
Yeah.
this is the beforehand, and this is the if it's happening.
Okay, so you do that, and then I'll do this afterwards. Okay. Yeah, no, it's scary. I was coming home from Philadelphia on Friday, and I was like, what the heck? You know, I was out of town all day. You know, the sky was orange, the black smoke, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
Just as you came to Tuxedo.
So what's interesting, I don't know about where you were in Goshen, but in Warwick you didn't really have the smell, but where I am in Sugarloaf, all day yesterday we couldn't go outside.
Wow, no, we
was
don't have the
smoky.
smell.
It was smoky, like I couldn't even see Sugarloaf Mountain from my backyard.
Wow.
So it was.
You can see Sugarloaf Mountain from your backyard.
It is my backyard.
Where do you live?
Up in Sugarloaf Estates or whatever. It's
Where John McDermott used to live? Are you? Was it Feeney?
no. The answer is this. I am on. It's Penny. The next one over from there. It's the one that has Jackie Court, Jennifer Court, Laura Drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Real Real Estate Show. I am your host, Christine Koenig, with Keller Williams, hosting today with
Suzanne Germany, and I'm with Howard Hanna Rand Realty. I'm out of the Goshen office, but as all real estate agents will say, we work the state. And you work 2 states.
I do work 2 states.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny that you brought that up. I forgot you're in Jersey too.
Yeah.
There, I believe, as a veteran, if you were discharged disabled in New Jersey, you don't have to pay property tax.
That is true.
Yes.
Or it's like there's a minimum.
Yeah,
you get an
you're
exemption.
Yeah, so
it's
that's
a
great
real
benefit.
exemption.
Yeah, it's
in
a
New
true.
Jersey.
I had a deal where a guy we closed in Jersey, the property tax was like $20,000. What's really cool, I mean, he qualified with them built in, but lenders will actually allow you to qualify without, because they recognize that benefit. So you don't have to collect the X amount at closing because they understand that it's going to.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That's right. So all you veterans out there thinking that New Jersey might be a place you want to explore,
Call Christine.
give us a call.
Yeah.
We'll help navigate through that, find out what the actual qualifications are, make sure that that's a match for you, and then see what's out there for you.
I mean, you would almost make it a match for you. You know, my nephew, who I said works, Jack's nephew, he is out on disability in the military. He was 12 years and something with his knee, and he's looking in Jersey, down in South Jersey, is outside Philadelphia.
So, hey, we got a text in. Hey, thank you for texting in. You know how much we love that. And just a reminder for everyone, if you have questions and you want to text us, it's 845-328-0886. And the question is it still a multiple offer market, or have things cooled down slightly?
So I personally think it's still multiple.
I think it depends.
Yeah, well, I have a house I don't have the listing. I have an offer in it. It's multiple.
Yep.
Had a house that I was putting an offer in, which I got in Goshen. I think there was 15 offers.
Wow, that must have been a nice house.
No.
Well priced?
No. It was a full renovation. That's why, though. But that's the same thing, you know.
Correct.
If its price is low enough, multiple people are going to put an offer in. But we got that. But so I think it's, you know.
I think it depends.
It definitely depends.
So my experience, I have a couple listings right now. And I have one that I think is reasonably well priced. And I've had very little traffic on it. I had one down in Newark that we also had limited traffic on.
Where?
Newark, New Jersey.
Oh, Newark.
Yeah. But it's in an area that is generally a little more competitive. So what I would say is about the market from my perspective is I feel like there are fewer buyers out there right now than there have been, and that's probably seasonality of where we're at.
Right, sure, November.
And we had elections, and a lot of people were just like, I'm going to wait till
I'm
after
gonna wait
the
till after
election.
the election, right?
And then I feel like people are a little more conscious of price point with rates and kind of doing that balance. So I think that we're going to have a really strong spring. I think that I think that home buyers right now are trying to wait for the right deal, which is always how I feel winter real estate is.
And you say something. I was going to talk about the Fed rates, but you go.
Yeah, the Fed did cut rates, but it didn't impact mortgages.
No, they've
We can-
actually skipped up a little.
We can dig into that a little bit. I think right now, and I've been saying this to a lot of people because they're all like, "Oh, wait till spring." Now is actually the best time to buy.
Yeah, I always
Is
think-
anyone that's
I
selling
agree with that.
Sure.
is selling, and
Sure.
they need to sell. You can get a deal on it. I don't care where the rates are.
Right.
I just did this cost of waiting analysis for someone, and it basically shows like, all right, if your rate's 6.6 today, but you want to wait till they go to 6, like what is the cost and appreciation of home value, what you're throwing away in rent, even factoring in closing costs. And when you see it, the payment difference is so little and the
Right.
rate difference is that it's silly to wait. I mean,
Right.
you're talking a 4 or 5% appreciation year over year. Just to wait for a rate to drop a point does not make sense to me.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with me being a lender. It really is
No,
just like,
it is what it is. It's the math is power.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's math.
So you have to show it to them, though.
Yeah.
How much are you throwing away in rent right now just to wait for a slightly lower interest rate? And when they do go down, that house is going to cost you 4 or 5% more
Right.
because there's going to be way more people in it. So
I agree, but you can say it from the top of a mountain, but people, they kind of follow their own gut.
Yeah.
But truthfully, Mike is preaching from the,
so I did
it's
that
true.
conference. It's really all we talk about is people's money and how to educate them on financing. It's not like how do you do more business as a lender or a realtor. It's really just being their advocate and figuring out ways to show them this is how you generate wealth long term. And a lot of it starts with buying a house.
Right. Oh, I say that so often.
By the way, one of our fellow real estate people are chiming in with, yes, definitely a strong spring coming. Yes, less buyer competition now. And that one of her buyers at a Warwick address, which Mike and her buyer just closed, had 19 offers.
Yeah, 19
Wow.
offers.
Yeah, that's wild. And did you get it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Of course I got it.
Mike's the man, just remember
Mike's the
that.
man. Mike's
Sometimes
great.
it's like having a strong pre-approval and knowing the person that's submitting it helps. It really helps win the offers, regardless of the price. Sometimes,
Right.
like anyone can say they want to buy a house for X amount. It doesn't mean they'll close. So
No, and like that is something I
Thank you
would
for
like to
that
just,
shout out.
yes, I would like to take a quick minute on that point, which is there are times when, as a listing agent, but as a buyer's agent, when I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm working with someone who has a great reputation locally that people know gets business done.
Yeah.
If you have two close offers, or a lot of times you'll have like same, and you're working with one person who's at like a national, a national brand that we all know doesn't do anything local, and that loan is going to bounce from department to department, versus someone who's going to usher the loan from the beginning to the end. It makes a real difference in the experience for
Absolutely.
the seller, for the buyer, and for that listing agent who knows, all right, I know Mike, we've done deals before, he's right here, he does a great job, this is it, I'm going to put this one on top of the other
He
one.
rocks it, right? I agree with that.
and say
that
why.
happens.
It does. It definitely helps in this market. It helps to work with someone local. I think and
With a good reputation.
with a good reputation. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, very good.
So anyway, we're going to shift gears just a little bit. One of the things that, if you've been listening to the radio or the news or live around here, we want to acknowledge that there is a raging forest fire right over the mountain in Greenwood Lake. And take a few minutes to talk about what's going on locally, what you can do to help, what you can do to, if you feel like the fire is getting closer to your home, things you can do to try to minimize some of the, I guess what we call defensible space, how to protect and prioritize creating that defensible space. And then talk about if you do end up in an evacuation space, kind of what does that mean and what to do about it.
And we first want to talk about the tragic loss of Daniel Vasquez. He was an 18-year-old firefighter, and
he worked for the Forest
Ranger.
Service.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, very sad. And but his family or friends have started a GoFundMe to help with his burial cost and everything. This morning, as of this morning, it was $41,000. But I think that if anybody can make a donation on GoFundMe, it's called the Celebrate Daniel Vasquez, a True Community Hero. You could look it up, probably just his name also, Daniel Vasquez. But if you can make a donation, that would be great, because I can't imagine the suffering this family is going through.
No.
And then a funeral is $25,000-$30,000, especially if something like this is going to have it's going to be multiple days, so you're probably up $30,000-$40,000 for this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anybody could help out, that'd be great. It's on GoFundMe.
Right. In terms of local donations, I would also like to say I have seen that the Greenwood Lake Fire House, I think over on Lakes Road or Mountain, is collecting water and Gatorades and snacks, things that can refuel the firemen coming, not only our local firemen, but those kind of coming in from out of the area.
But I would think rather than going to Greenwood Lake, maybe if you called your local fire department, they would get any supplies over to them. Do you think?
I don't know. I know that what I had heard earlier was
that it was that firehouse.
This firehouse.
But it's not, I don't know how congested it is over there.
I don't know
with
either.
Emergency services and stuff.
So,
but yeah, you can always call the firehouses down in Greenwood Lake.
Give a call.
If you can make a donation, that would be great. I think I'm going to do that today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's take a few minutes and talk about how to keep your home safe from forest fires if you're in that area. Here we have a lot of vegetation, a lot of woods, a lot of trees.
Yeah, we're very fortunate now.
We also have a lot of historically moisture, so it's never really been a huge focus for us.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, there's a note that says all donations are welcome. It is congested to get there.
Right.
Anyway, so I look at the back of my yard. I'm in Sugarloaf, and I have Sugarloaf Mountain behind me. And we did have a fire on Sugarloaf Mountain a few years ago that they were able to control and contain pretty quickly. But it did make me think about what would we do if that fire spread more rapidly, than anticipated. And I thought this was an interesting list because it did kind of talk about some of the things that we've sort of started doing. So number one is you want to clear the vegetation around your house. This is all like ongoing maintenance if you happen to live in an area that backs up to the woods or is near.
You're in the path.
Near that.
Yeah.
So it says zone 1, within 5 feet of the house, remove all flammable plants, mulch, and debris within 5 feet of your home, and you can replace it with non-combustible materials. Number 2, zone 5 feet to 30, trim your trees and shrubs to maintain clear space, keeping branches at least 10 feet above the ground.
I mean, you think about that, if you think, and the Greenwood Lake area is a very wooded area, outside of just being around the lake, but most people, you're kind of built up into the mountain there. But overhanging trees, I mean, there's not too much we can do now, but you think about that when you're buying a house too. You don't really want too much vegetation by you.
Right, and it says beyond 30 feet, maintain a healthy landscape. So to me, this is my biggest area of concern in my home. Like we have, from the house, we have the grass, we have the trees, everything is well maintained. And behind that, we have a hill that goes down, and it is the woods, right? So there are a lot of down trees. It is where we put our brush. You know what I mean? To me, our backyard feels like a tinderbox. The last time we did some tree trimming, I had us rent a chipper so that we chipped the wood instead of leaving these, logs in the backyard.
Right.
But if you think about what's been going on around here, and I think this is part of what's going on, we've had, we have the ash borer, and we have a lot of ash tree here, and these trees are not healthy trees. There are a lot of dead trees standing. There are a lot of dead trees that have fallen. Greenwood Lake had that, we'll call it a microburst. They came up with some other straight line microburst something,
Yeah,
but it was like a tornado. There are so many down trees in the area where this fire had just kind of ripped through because they were dead trees to begin with, or mostly dead. Then they got, ripped down and they're sitting on the ground. All the branches are on the ground. All the leaves are on the ground. Right. It is a tinderbox. And so it's like, there's not a lot you can do in the woods about that, but you can, do your best to minimize that around your home.
Right. Very scary.
Yeah. Oh, so we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back to finish talking about some things you can do around your home to
Fire prevention.
Fire prevention.
Yeah, because even a pile of leaves, as it disintegrates, becomes flammable.
Well, and it becomes airborne, and then it's like floating,
I
right?
think people, what they don't, because I see this a lot in California when there's fires, is like, oh, it's 10 miles away or 20 miles away. They
Those
don't.
things can move.
Yeah, the ash. One little piece of ash gets under your roof vent or whatever and goes into your insulation, and it's a big problem.
It's a big
I
problem.
think they got really lucky over there of where it was burning, and
Brewer Lake area?
yeah, like
Because it
Just-
came up over the ridge from New Jersey, so, and now it's working its way down the mountain rather than starting on the face of that mountain. So it's like,
yeah, so they caught in front of it with pre-made berms to make sure that it wasn't skipping roads and
yeah, and
jumping
it
into
did
people's
skip
house.
over one fire line for sure.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, it's definitely not under control still.
No,
It's,
it's 0% contained.
Oh, really? Wow.
Zero-
I mean, looking at
0%
it today, it's a
contained.
lot better. So I have to
It
go
said
to
that
Montauk
with-
after this. You're saying don't obviously take Warwick Turnpike? Or
No.
I don't know. I mean,
No,
Brenda's
because
saying it's congested.
No, so Warwick Turnpike is definitely not how I would go, because you know where like Long Pond Ironworks is, like Monksville Reservoir, that's where the fire started. So that whole,
So go up 17
Yeah.
and just go the normal route
Yeah.
or like the...
I would not be taking the back way around the mountains here, no.
I mean, when I got in on Saturday, I could see the mountain glowing.
Yeah, that's what I
was
saw
driving over
Friday
the mountain.
night. I couldn't believe it. The sky was glowing.
Yeah. You mentioned quickly the rate reduction. I don't know if you want to talk about that again or just...
Well, they
keep
said it's
going.
just going up. They said it's going up because of the election.
Yep, we'll talk about
Alright.
that first and then pop back to this to end.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Trying to get my groove. Welcome back to the Real Real Estate Show. I'm Suzanne Dermody with Howard Hanna Rand Realty, and I'm here with my co-host.
Christine Koenig, Keller Williams, licensed in New York and New Jersey.
And Mike Van Mansar with Cross Country Mortgage.
Licensed everywhere, right?
I mean, the company is licensed in 50 states. I'm personally in 5, but if you do need help in the states I'm not licensed in, we can definitely facilitate it through our referral network.
Great.
I love that.
Yeah.
So Mike, before we hop back over to fire prevention, we did want to take a minute to talk about what people perceive as good news for mortgages versus the reality, what's going on with
Yeah,
mortgages.
so, you know, the disconnect where the general public doesn't understand is that the Fed does control interest rates, but for what banks borrow from each other, essentially, or what they can borrow from the Fed window. So a reduction in a Fed interest rate doesn't necessarily mean mortgage rates go down. It'll help on a home equity line or credit cards, things like that. But the general 30-year fixed rate is not really attached to the Fed fund
I
rate.
think everyone thinks it is.
Yeah, it's not. I always get emails after the Fed drops
Right.
the rate and says, "Hey, can I lower my interest rate?" And I say, "Yeah, we can when they get to that level."
Right.
But what really drives interest rates and why you're seeing them go up, even though we've had 2 Fed rate reductions, is inflation and jobs numbers. If the economy's rocking and rolling and inflation's continuing to go up, those rates are going to stay elevated for a period of time.
Now our inflation came down to 2-point-something% in
Yeah, what was the
September.
lowest
But
it
it's
was?
in line with what their expectation is. So you
Right.
really need a report to show, and that 2.1 is their goal, I think. It's 2% is their
Right.
goal, but that's after backing out certain things. So the latest job numbers that came out where we only added 18,000 jobs, that was phenomenal for rates for about 1 hour. And then the market came in and said, well, we don't care because the overall economy is on fire. I just made $2 million in the stock market because it went up 2%. Like that's the stuff that's driving rates and keeping them elevated, is that money in the market. So whenever the market shifts downward, people move their money into mortgage-backed securities as a safe haven.
Right.
If they're making 2 and 3% in the stock market, the buyers of mortgage-backed securities, they don't want a 6% or 6.5% mortgage. They want to put it where they're making a ton more money in the market. So that's the kind of the shift that you're seeing come back and forth. So when the market goes down, rates actually tend to go down. When the market's up, rates go up.
Interesting.
It's kind of hard to explain. I just tell people, if you want to track it a little bit, look at the 10-year treasury because that's the closest thing to a long-term rate. that you're going to see. And if the 10-year Treasury comes down, typically rates will drop.
All right.
Accordingly, yeah.
All right. So, so the answer is rates have not come down.
They're remaining flat,
Remaining
for
flat.
the most part. But look, they will come down eventually. We're not going to be in this market forever.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the real education is just get into the house.
Yeah.
Get into
Right,
the house,
agree.
lock in your payment. If they come down, great, you'll save money, but at least you're not throwing money away in rent, and you add a tax deduction, like all these things.
And you can always refinance the mortgage
You
if,
can always
if it goes down,
refinance.
but you can't change the price. Right?
Yeah.
Correct, you can't change the price. That's what I think people are missing the boat on. They think
Yeah.
that as rates fall, they'll save money, which is true. Like, let's say you save $200 a month because your rate's lower. Well, how much more did you just spend on that house?
Right,
Probably
right.
$20,000,
Right.
you know, or
At
$30,000.
least, right.
So it's not worth it, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
anyway.
By the way, we had another comment online, which I love. Thank you. Keep them coming. If fire prevention requires tree or brush removal, please get a written quote, or your final price could be quite different from what you thought you were going to be paying, and deal with reputable people. It is true. It can be very
Yeah,
expensive
sure.
to remove trees. But a couple other things I thought were interesting to consider when you're, kind of doing that fire prevention around your home. Flammable storage, keep firewood, propane tanks, lawnmowers, other gas-powered equipment a good distance away from your home, and participate in neighborhood fire-wise initiatives. So you can belong to like the different trail associations and things who go through and clean debris and stuff like that.
I'm sitting here thinking I have a gas grill on my deck right outside my kitchen.
As most
window.
people do.
And you just don't think about that. You
Yeah.
think, I'm not in the pathway, but, God forbid. So get the grills away from your house, or I don't know what to tell you to do with them.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So by the way, you have some very good evacuation tips,
Right. So I went
just
on the,
in case you
went on
end
the
up in
website
that
this morning
scenario.
to look up for evacuation tips, because we may have people who are in the path of this fire. We probably do. And if they tell you to evacuate. So if advised to evacuate, do so immediately. Know your evacuation route ahead of time. And I'm sure the fire departments, whoever's coming to tell you to evacuate, is going to tell you which route to take, because you don't want to go down a pathway that's blocked. You don't want to think, oh, I know a shortcut. Take the way they're telling you to take. Wear protective clothing and footwear to reduce harm from flying sparks and ashes. Also, you can remove combustibles that we just talked about away from your house, which I have that gas grill. Close all your windows because you don't want the air flowing through your house, and doors prevent a draft. Shut off natural gas, propane, or fuel oil supplies. Fill any large vessels, pools, hot tubs, garbage cans, or tubs with water to slow or discourage fires. Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting. Kind of creative way
Like, I
of
think
water
about
boundary.
it, yeah, like you fill all your trash cans with water, and you could almost line them. I didn't think about that. Don't try to outrun the blaze. Instead, look for a body of water, such as a pond or river, to crouch in. That's how I always thought. I know the fire sucks the oxygen away, but I always thought, I think I'd go to a body of water. Maybe not in November.
In the movies, yeah, you always see them flip over the boats, right?
Yeah, like when we were little. But if there's no water nearby, find a depressed, cleared area with little vegetation. Lie low to the ground. This is if you can't get out.
Right.
Obviously, if you can get out, get out. And
I feel like heed evacuation warnings and pay attention to what's going on.
I think as a whole, like, do many people know where their fire extinguishers are in their house? I have one on every level of my house, and they're like within arm's reach. So
Yeah,
if there
mine's
ever
my
is
kitchen.
something, people don't think they buy them, right? And then
Right.
they never look at them.
right, and actually, so we have a rental down at the shore, which we have talked about before, and we're required every year by New Jersey laws down at the Jersey Shore to have it replaced. So your fire extinguisher does expire. So we all have them, and I'll be honest with you, I'm sitting here telling you this, and mine in my house is 12 years old. So I'm going to go out today. And it is.
I think you should just
You and
switch
everyone else
your
is
New
buying
Jersey
fire
ones from the New
extinguishers
Jersey into your house,
My
so
old
you
ones.
always
I
have
think-
a
Yeah.
2-year-old instead
I'm
of a
just gonna go.
12-year-old.
I'm just gonna go get a new one. But yeah, so they do expire. So regardless of where you have it, if it's old more than a year,
Yeah.
it has to be exchanged.
Yeah.
If there's no water nearby, find a depressed, cleared area with low vegetation. Lie low to the ground. Cover your body with wet clothing, a blanket, or soil. This sounds drastic.
Yeah.
Stay low and covered until the fire passes. I would still be running. Protect your lungs by
It
breathing.
literally says don't outrun, Fred out. It was literally the first thing you said.
No,
Fear
I'm
takes
sorry.
over.
I'm just, I can't imagine. I don't think I could play dead for a bear either.
No.
Protect your lungs by breathing air closest to the ground through a mask, which we all have, or moist. Actually, if you're in a pathway, get those masks out because, I mean, I just bought some new ones, believe it or not. If possible, air closest to the ground through a mask or moist cloth, if possible, to reduce smoke inhalation, because that's what you don't want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, we were talking about this earlier. Greenwood Lake right now, there's a tremendous amount of smoke in the air. Depending on which way the wind is blowing, like yesterday in Sugarloaf, we couldn't, I live, the mountain is behind me. I couldn't see the mountain. It was so thick. The smell of smoke was coming into the house, even though we had all doors and windows closed. So you need to be careful with the air quality alerts in the area right now. So they said, limit your exposure to the outdoors. Don't be doing physical activity outside. As you said, wear a mask. You want to protect your lungs, your breathing, and stay as safe as possible and stay vigilant. I know if I had a home in Greenwood Lake right now, I would probably be there, right, making sure that everything was all right. Making sure I was keeping track with the fire department about where things were.
Right.
I'd probably be, if I'm visualizing what I would do in that scenario, I'd probably be looking around at if I did have to evacuate, what did I want to take with me, and putting that in a easily to grab space, having a go bag ready.
Right. And as we sit here, as the crow flies, we are not far from Greenwood Lake.
No,
we're in Warwick, but it's
correct.
beautiful.
If the crow was flying, you'd be 3 miles away.
Yeah, it's a beautiful blue sky day. But, we don't have anything. But again, don't let that be misleading. If you're in that area, definitely be vigilant and keep in touch with your fire departments.
Yeah, and, being from the area, I'm sure that everyone has plenty of people they know that they can go and stay with if that comes to that. But if not, there are designated areas in Greenwood Lake that you can go to. I believe the senior center, one of the schools is a designated area. The fire department can help. So if you have any questions about what to do if you do need to evacuate, where you can go, just make sure you reach out to the authorities. They're going to have that list. Always listen to information from the source, so that you don't end up in a situation where you thought, you heard something from someone who was not, from the fire department or from the county or the state, right? And you can end up in a scenario where you listen to bad advice. So, make sure that you are listening to the reports going out. I know all over Facebook, they are reposting whenever the state or the fire department or the county says something. So just keep your eyes open and stay safe out there and
be vigilant.
Yeah, and we're all hoping that we get all the resources we need to contain the fire before we have loss of structure or additional loss of life. It's,
and definitely pray for the people in Greenwood Lake, the firefighters, and Northern Jersey too, because the fires. Is it still burning in North Jersey?
It is.
Yeah, it's very scary.
So we're thinking about everyone out there, and hopefully by next week when we're back on the air, we'll be able to have a more positive thing to say here about all of that. So. Anyway, that being said, I hope everyone does have a really great week.
And a happy Veterans Day.
A happy Veterans Day.
Yep,
Go out.
definitely.
Make sure thank a veteran.
Yes, thank a veteran.
Every time, all day. And if you have a chance, there's 11 o'clock in Goshen's kicking off their parade. So go check that out. I hear that it's a really nice parade. I think Warwick has a Veterans Day parade as well.
Bye.
So I'm not exactly sure, but you'll find it.
Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, it was warm.
Do you want me to put that in the recycle pile?
I'm not going to take steps.